All right, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back. Thank you for tapping in again to the channel. In this episode, we got a couple more parts so we can start getting fuel into the system, and we're troubleshooting to try to get this thing to idle. Unfortunately, that means the fuel tank has to come out. That means the pump is bad. I think I just solved the puzzle. Because in the last episode, we got it to run, but for the life of us, we cannot get this thing to idle. So I'm sure you guys have noticed the new mic at this point. I was personally tired of hearing all the fan noise in the videos, so this was my solution to that problem. You guys gotta let me know if this is better, if it's preferred. I like this because then I can just leave the phone and then I can still talk instead of being forced to keep it to the time lapses as we're doing now. So I kind of dig it, but if the audio is worse, I kind of get it if that's the preferred audio method for the videos. But not hearing the fans, I feel like there's no way that's not going to be a positive. We official. All right, so now we got some fuel in the system. We got to connect the new fuel filter first. Then we're going to hook up the inline fuel pump, try to draw some fuel out of this bad boy. So let's get to work.
A few moments later.
I ended up having to replace the line at the fuel pump, at the inlet from the hard line, and then from the outlet coming from the fuel, mechanical fuel pump. Replace both of those, and now we're at a point where it's finally getting the old fuel out. So you can see what that's looking like. So I'm going to keep pumping this until I get to a point where it's fresh fuel coming out, and then I'll know that it's good, and then I'll go ahead and put the fuel filter on, and then from there we should be good. So it took about that much fuel to get to a point where the system is putting out some decent stuff. It's not brand new to compare, but that's clean enough. I think we're at the point where we can now start the car again, and it should continue running. So let's try it. Okay, so this thing should idle this time. Maybe not this time. It has to get the fuel through the line, or the rest of the line, but it should be pretty damn close. Bro. I don't know what's going on, but it didn't even want to crank that time. Gotta test my battery real quick. Houston, you got a problem? We're doing more battery patches, so the ground was loose. I'll be honest, at this point I'm at a loss. I've tried pretty much everything. I've tried priming the line again with the lines on there. I tried cranking it, letting it run. I tried revving it, holding it with the throttle, trying to keep it on that way. Either way it goes, it dies. Either way it goes, it's not getting fuel.
5 minutes later.
So one thing led to another. I did another test with the inline fuel pump from the carburetor, and it pumped fine. So from that point, I think now the issue was the mechanical fuel pump. And so one thing led to another again, and I already got that thing off. So the new one's starting to be on now. I realized I wasn't recording. I caught myself this time, so there's that.
What?
We're about to go ahead and just finish putting this thing on. We got the new fuel pump on, and we got the system primed. So by tomorrow, when I run it, it should actually pump some fuel now. Hopefully by tomorrow, it's a running car, and I don't have to worry about that no more.
Stop it.
So I did a little bit of research, did a little bit of science. I've been doing this a little bit wrong. So first thing was that the fuel tank was pressurizing, and then I kept hearing the tank like cracking, like expanding, like you can hear it go, like a thumping, I guess is a good way to describe it. So doing a little bit of reading about that, I learned that basically there's a vent that was supposed to happen, and you guys might have saw it in the whatever episode. The tank, or the sending unit, has 4 lines coming out of it, right? And so the 4th one, I thought it wasn't used, so I just blocked it. I plugged it with a screw. Well, that was bad. That wasn't the way it should have been. And after doing all the research, I pulled the line off of the fuel tank's outlet, the one that should go to the carburetor, the one that pushes fuel through the system. Pulled that line off, nothing came out. Ran my line, or ran my inline fuel pump to it, nothing came out as well. And so at this point, it's suggesting to me that the problem is with my fuel tank sending unit. So unfortunately, that means the fuel tank has to come out.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So I'm gonna go ahead and get to work on doing that. Oddly enough, I pulled all the lines off except for one, and it was the one that I thought was the return line, but that was also the only one that had fuel in it. So weird. I might continue pulling it off and then pump the fuel or run the inline fuel tank. Fuel inline fuel pump. I might run that again just to see if that one will sustain fuel. And if it does, then I might just flip the lines at the tank. No! Thinking maybe they're just swapped. That would be weird, but that could be the case here. So we'll try that and see what happens. I haphazardly put the lines back together at the pump, or at the tank, I mean, and now I'm just gonna swap the lines.
No! God, please, no!
And I'm gonna run the thinner hose using the inline fuel pump. I'm gonna run that up here, see if it flows fuel. And then from there, I know what the next steps are as far as refining the tank.
One eternity later.
But absolute fuck ton has transpired since the last clip. I've been trying to get this thing to be primed and work for pretty much all day. I tried lowering the front of the car to help with the fuel system priming. I tried, I don't know, you name it, I tried it. And none of it worked. I could never get fuel through the system. And then it dawned on me that when I lowered the front end of the car, that it started gravity feeding fuel out of the return line, like complete from the back of the car all the way forward, right? And so from that, I was thinking it was just weird, it was just gravity feeding, but I didn't really put that much thought into it. It dawned on me that the fact that it was draining or gravity feeding through the return system, most likely that means the pump is bad. So now I have two bad fuel pumps. The good news is we already got the new one on order. The wife was gonna strangle me if I ordered it now.
You're a victim.
Because I've already been doing way too much trying to get this thing to run. I didn't want this episode to be complete with idle shenanigans, but that's what it turned into. So wish me luck, fingers crossed, toes crossed, arms, elbows, everything, legs, whatever you can cross it. Hopefully this new fuel tank comes in and we're able to get this thing running.
The next day.
Since we are fixing the fuel system, after learning that everything was wrong in the front, I started to assume things were wrong in the back as well.
I'm so smart.
So I started doing some science on that as well. And I learned that I never reinstalled the check valve. I didn't even know what it was. We're gonna go install this.
5 minutes later.
As firmly established, I'm not in the business of making things pretty, but we got the vent mounted. We just routed it up to the filler neck and used some zip ties to get it vertical, or as much as realistically possible. It has been an eventful day. The new pump came in. I did a bench test on the newest pump, which we'll call it the third pump, and the first pump, which is the original pump. And I did that mainly to confirm the inlet and outlet because I was kind of confused on that. Everything was pointing to the threaded line being the inlet, but that wasn't the case. I learned that the threaded line is for sure the output to the carburetor, and it's the 90-degree bung that is the input or inlet, whatever. So after we confirmed that, we briefly both pulled off the second pump that has been on the car. And so when I did the bench test on that one, it started squirting immediately from the fuel that was already in it. And so stupidly, I thought that meant it was good. Long story less long, it was not good. It just squirted what was left in there. The diaphragm was still bad. So after eventually getting that figured out, we threw on the third pump and started priming the system. So it should be, for the most part, ready to go now. So I'm really, 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 really hoping at this point that it runs because I'm tired of troubleshooting.
15 minutes later.
As firmly established that I can't take L's, I got upstairs and started doing some more research, trying to figure out what else could be preventing this thing from starting and running. From that, I started thinking about the tank again. And so the only thing that's confusing in the tank area is there's two 5/16 lines, one of them being a vent and the other being the return line, right? And so remember in the past, when I lowered the front, I mentioned that it was gravity feeding through all the way. However, what doesn't really make sense for that is because if it's a vent, I'm pretty sure I have the lines flipped. And so to test that, I just took off the vent cap again and blew through it. And I definitely heard bubbling, and then after blowing, there's air pushback. So to me, that sounds like a return line characteristic. And at this point, I don't really have anything to lose, so I'm gonna flip those real quick.
A few moments later.
I think I just solved the puzzle. So as I was going back there to swap the return and the vent, I figured out that there's not two 5/16ths. So before I was thinking there was two 5/16ths, one 3/8, and 1/4. Turns out, again, there's two 3/8, one 5/16ths, 1/4. So what I thought was the return for 5/16ths was actually the fuel feed. And I actually I think it was going to the return before, considering it was gravity feeding through. And it makes sense now because that was actually the return. So yeah, so I think I just solved the puzzle. Completely my fault. It's not the previous owner. I was thinking they had problems with the way it was routed and everything, but I'm pretty sure this is 100% up to me because I didn't take note of what was what when I was taking the fuel tank out.
A few moments later.
I'm sweaty. I don't even care. It's 11 o'clock on a Thursday or Wednesday night, and I'm excited. I think I finally figured it out. I think I finally solved the puzzle, and honestly, it makes so much sense because it was gravity feeding out of that line before, and it never even occurred to me that that was what should have been the sending unit. I did have them flipped, and it never even clicked.
Flashback.
It dawned on me that the fact that it was draining or gravity feeding through the return system, most likely that means the pump is bad.
Boy, ain't no way, boy.
So now that that's resolved, everything else should be pretty much squared away. I feel like it's you know what I'm saying? It makes perfect sense for why that would have worked that way and how it explains everything, literally. All right, today's the day. We got some fuel going in now. About to go ahead and crank this thing up. It might take a couple of starts, but I think it's about to run. We're about to see. All right, moment of truth. Now she doesn't want to start. What are the chances? Yep, so we just need some starter fluid. Give this thing a little bit extra motivation. Well, with that, I think we got a runner, boys. Yeah, let me make sure I'm getting fuel now. Doesn't look like it's squirting. Let's see if it starts up and runs. Nope. Still not getting fuel, I think. Okay, went to the back, checked the lines, realized I had the send unit or send line and return line flipped.
Huh?
So now I'm starting from square one with the priming process again. So I gotta let it run a few times. All right, this fuel is in. Let's go see what we're talking about. This thing's not used to running at all. A couple little areas for smoke. I'm sure it's just old oil and shit that needs to burn off, but with that, that's success. This is a runner now. I thought I'd have to run it a couple times, and now we'll start working toward the first drive. So that's probably not going to be in the next episode. There's still a ton of stuff that needs to be done. We'll cross the bridge when we get there. Next episode, you guys will find out while I'm finding out. So yeah, it's been real. Peace.